Ancestors forever, Mapabu Malele, ancestors forever.
Good evening, Guyana. Welcome to Reparations Now for the month of November 2021. Last month, we observed African Holocaust Day on October 12th, and that's because Columbus arrived in these parts in 1492 on that date, leading to the African Holocaust. Just 2 weeks ago, the Guyana Reparations Committee observed African Holocaust Day on November 11th because that's called Armistice Day, and we wear poppies to honor those who died during the World Wars. Well, millions of Africans died, and I think it's time that we in Guyana recognize that and look to observe African Holocaust Day on the same day as Armistice Day. And that's why we played the first video honoring our ancestors. Tonight in studio, I have with me our beautiful poet laureate, Crystal Crawford. She is, of course, dressed in African gear in her full magnificence and splendor. So I asked her tonight to read us one of her incredible poems about us. And this poem is dedicated to you and also to African Holocaust Men. Crystal?
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. 400 years. 400 years ago, my people were dragged from their homes. Tribes, families placed on floating wood and shipped across the Atlantic to what would be later described as the most inhumane act of all times. Cold, dark, uncomfortable, cannot describe the trip in ships where whips did not fail to miss. Injustice, rape and disgrace, blood rains, brute forced ignorance, hate in their veins. Sweat and tears, labor revealed, produce from cane fields only for the esteemed. 400 years of eroding one's pride, culture, heritage, value. 400 years of the iron chain, stringing up, leaving bare. Oh, but they never cared. Why fight when you would be met with sharp blades? So don't you dare cry out in fear. Why not plan an escape with the plaiting of one's hair? Oh, the drums! Listen, dance, communicate. For tonight, we fight a battle not even death can spare. Blue eyes, white skin. Master said there's beauty within. But guess what? Black, brown, gold, reparations, royalty we are owed. Them say hustle, but cassava, that's where we get we strength from to beat and conquer. For tonight, we're returning to Ghana. You may say, I'm a descendant of slaves because of the rich melanin that gushes from my pores. But I came to tell you today, I am not a slave, rather the descendant of kings and queens. I am the embodiment of the divine. I do not chase. I align. I attract. What's meant for me already has my name on it. I am the personification of beauty, the expression of love, the creator of life, the acknowledgement of freedom. So go ahead, call me what you want, because when I die, bury me in the oceans where my ancestors jumped from the ships, because they knew death was better than bondage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an incredible poem. 400 years. It takes us through that journey. Tonight we'll focus on history, those 400 years and before those 400 years. Because we in Guyana and in many parts of the world are afraid to be African. We are afraid of our identity, of our rich culture. Whereas the Chinese, Indians, Russians, Europeans hang on and embrace and identify with their culture, we seem to be schizophrenic. So our first video is going to be about the scramble for Africa, which happened in the 19th century. The Berlin Conference, you may have heard about it. We need to know who we are and why Africa is so divided and why that division continues today. So without further ado, I'll ask our technicians to share with you a brief history of the scramble for Africa.
Africa is a large continent home to immense culture and history. Surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea to the north, the Indian Ocean to the southeast, and the Atlantic Ocean to the west, it is the world's second largest and second most populous continent. It contains 54 countries and is extremely diverse in terms of ethnicity and language. The borders of these countries were largely decided by European nations during the late 19th and early 20th century in what is known as the Scramble for Africa. The Sahara is a defining feature of Africa, the largest desert in the world. The Sahara's sheer size and magnitude acted as a major obstacle for communication, trade, and exchange of ideas. However, there is evidence of Roman expeditions and explorations who were able to move across the desert and into the interior of Africa, with the aim to secure sources of gold, salt, and spices. For centuries, Arabs also maintained trade relations with the vast empires of West Africa, such as the Ghana and Mali Empire, establishing trade routes that secured gold, ivory, and slaves. The Portuguese began expeditions down the west coast of Africa in the 15th century, and history tells us of the profound effect that followed. During the 1480s, the explorer Diogo Coe was the first to establish contact with the Congo Kingdom, situated south of the Congo River. The Congo Kingdom was eager to make use of Portuguese teachers and craftsmen, and the Congo kings allowed Catholic missionaries to work among their people. The Portuguese traded guns, cloth, and other European luxuries for slaves who were captured by the Congo in wars against rival kingdoms. By the 17th century, Portugal and other European powers began to settle along the coast of Africa. Europeans would buy slaves in Africa, transport them to the Americas, and exchange them for valuable goods like sugar, coffee, and tobacco, which were then sold at premium prices in Europe. Arguably, between the 16th and 18th century, over 12 million Africans were enslaved and transported in harsh conditions to work on plantations in the Americas. In the south of Africa, the first European settlement was established by the Dutch East India Company, where merchants used the location as a waypoint for ongoing voyages to the Dutch East Indies. They came into contact with the Khoikhoi, a nomadic indigenous population of southwestern Africa, comprising of hundreds of clans. Over time, this settlement, known as the Cape of Good Hope, grew in size, resulting in the Khoikhoi losing land and cattle to the Dutch, who adopted the name Boer, meaning farmer. Due to a shortage of labour, the Dutch imported slaves from Mozambique, Madagascar, and many Indonesian islands. The Cape of Good Hope came under the control of the British during the Napoleonic Wars. The abolition of slavery ended slavery in the Cape in 1834. In 1835, the Boers embarked on the Great Trek, as the abolition of the slave trade resulted in financial catastrophe. As a result, Dutch citizens known as Voortrekkers moved further inland into Africa. They formed the Free Orange State and Transvaal, which was recognised by the British. In the north, France launched a war of conquest against Algeria in 1830, which would last until 1847. Meanwhile, in the United States, there was a movement to settle freeborn blacks and freed slaves and transport them to Africa. Most whites, and later a small minority of blacks, believed that blacks would be better off in Africa. The American Colonization Society began transporting them to the closest point of Africa to establish a colony in 1822. By 1847, the settlers issued a Declaration of Independence and established the Independent Republic of Liberia. The construction of the Suez Canal in 1869 verified its importance as a route for trade with India and China. And in 1882, Egypt was occupied by British forces during the Anglo-Egyptian War, subsequently revealing the potential riches that Africa offered. There were several European explorers who explored the continent. Perhaps one of the most famous was David Livingstone, a Scottish missionary who attempted to convert the natives he encountered to Christianity and strove to find the source of the Nile. Henry Moult Stanley was famous for his exploration of Central Africa. he worked for King Leopold II of Belgium and helped map out the Congo region. So why were there no major explorations into the interior of Africa before this? Well, there were limited seaworthy rivers, tropical diseases, hostile natives, and weapons were not as advanced as they were in the 19th century. During the 19th century, most European powers experienced a dramatic growth of productivity triggered by industrialization. European countries overproduced goods and were consequently searching for new markets. Interest turned towards the acquisition of land in order to grow agricultural products for European markets. Europeans moved into the interior of Africa to extract raw materials such as rubber, palm oil, gold, copper, and diamonds. These natural resources made Africa a vital resource for the European economy. Between 1884 and 1885, the Berlin Conference was called by German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. 14 representatives of 14 European countries attended the conference, including Britain, Belgium, France, Portugal, and Italy. Notably, no African representatives were invited. The aim was to discuss how European countries would claim colonial land in Africa and avoid war between them. Each country affirmed that they would bring civilization in the form of Christianity and trade to each region they occupied. Although most of these African colonies were controlled by nations, the Berlin Conference allowed King Leopold II of Belgium to become the sole ruler of a vast area that is today the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The intent was to make it an area of free trade for all Europeans in Africa. However, in practice, Leopold kept out most European traders and granted concessions to various corporations to exploit the region's resources. In 1908, it was revealed that under King Leopold's instructions, native people of the Congo were forced to farm wild rubber as a form of tax payment to the colonial government. Those unable to carry out these instructions had their hand or foot severed. Once news of these atrocities became known, King Leopold was stripped of his colony, and the vast Congo region was ruled by the Belgian government. Understandably, Europe held the technological advantage. Bands of just a few hundred men, and barely a handful of machine guns, proceeded to overwhelm and obliterate thousands of Africans. The machine gun was a revolutionary gun that could fire rapid shots at an unparalleled speed. The effectiveness of the weapon was obvious in Sudan, where a British force, armed with roughly 20 machine guns and a small number of gunboats, overpowered Sudanese forces and effectively opened the door for colonization. But the Europeans, in their quest to carve up the continent, would encounter resistance. By the early 1880s, Abyssinia, or modern-day Ethiopia, was in danger of invasion from the British, French, and Italians. Abyssinia's emperor made a decision to exploit European rivalries. After minor concessions to France in return for weapons, Italy grew nervous of the growing French interest in the country and offered the emperor Italian weapons. Throughout the 1880s, Abyssinia grew stronger and stronger, securing more modern weapons from the British and Russians. In 1889, Italy claimed Abyssinia as an Italian protectorate. The emperor rejected this. Italy, craving the glory of victory, ordered its troops into battle in 1894. Outnumbered, the Italians were defeated, and in 1896, Abyssinia remained independent. The British encountered resistance in South Africa against the Boers. They had previously recognised the independence of the Boer republics, but the discovery of diamonds and the potential of a German-Boer alliance led to war. The Boers used guerrilla warfare and utilised their skills of marksmanship to hinder British advancement, but in the end, British forces prevailed. Great Britain dominated the African continent with the control of Egypt, South Africa, Nigeria, and the Gold Coast. The French occupied vast expanses of West Africa. The Germans controlled modern-day Tanzania, as well as Namibia. The Italians controlled Somalia and Libya, whilst the Portuguese exerted full control over Angola and Mozambique. By 1914, 90% of Africa had been divided between 7 European countries, with only Ethiopia and the African American state of Liberia remaining independent nations.
So this was the first scramble for Africa in the 18th century, early 19th. And you saw all the European nations running to Africa for resources. What has not been told, though, is that apart from the European slave trade, there was an Arab slave trade that went on for 11 centuries. Yes, 1100 years. And what also has not been told is the number of Africans that were killed. In 1650, for example, both Europe and Africa had 100 million people. By 1850, Europe had grown to 265 million people, and Africa had shrunk to 95 million. So by taking away all these people from Africa, Europeans were able in the 1884 period to come and divide Africa, because Africa had lost a lot of its manpower. So black lives didn't matter, still don't matter today. And so I'd like to ask Crystal, our poet laureate, to do another poem for us called Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Does my blackness scare you? Or is it my strength that intimidates? Is it my resilient mind or my robust facade? Are you astonished by my meekness or my loud thumping soul? Is it my curls that confuses you or my pressed edges tell me because black lives matter? Is it the drive that motivates me or the passion that surrounds my core, pushes me to succeed even against all odds? Is it my round hips, thick thighs, or plump lips that hungers you? Is it my walk or my talk, my intelligence, my finesse? Because I know you see it and try to imitate. Is it my blackness or my brown skin, white teeth? Is it my persistent cry for justice or my call for peace? Is it my intelligence or the lack of it? Because black lives matter. You aren't satisfied with invading the motherland. You aren't satisfied so much so you continue to suffocate my blackness. I can't breathe, yet you want to let up, knee to neck like iron to flesh, lynching of the less let me guess, another black man panting for breath. How could we forget? I'm not beautiful for a black girl. I am beautiful because I am black. Black beauty. Black is beautiful, and black lives matter.
Thank you, thank you. There's a new scramble for Africa. It's been going on for quite a while. It's not a physical scramble. It's not with brute force. It's an economic scramble. Africa is still the motherland. Africa is still the cradle of civilization. Africa still has the most resources of all continents in the world. So I'd like you to look at this next tape to realize that colonization has many different forms. It could be political colonization, physical colonization, or economic colonization. So let's look at the new scramble for Africa.
Today we'll talk about Africa, once seen by Europe as the antithesis of civilization, the heart of darkness, in the words of a certain Joseph Conrad. Centuries later, Africa remains ignored. It makes news for its conflicts, poverty, and exoticism. For the longest time, the world saw it as a lost cause. Then one country saw opportunity, and thus began a new race for Africa, not very different from the scramble of the 19th century when colonial Britain and France wanted raw materials, slaves, and geopolitical influence. Now, in the 21st century, global powers are in more or less the same race. China, the United States, India, the European Union, Japan, Israel, Canada, all of these countries are in the race for Africa. And one country is emerging as the clear winner. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay, and this is Africa, a continent of 54 sovereign states. 17% of the world's population, 9.6% of the global oil output, 90% of the world's platinum supply, 90% of the world's cobalt supply, half of the world's gold supply, 2/3 of the world's manganese, 35% of the world's uranium, 75% of the world's coltan, and 54 votes in the United Nations General Assembly. This is what makes Africa so attractive and makes the continent a battleground for global powers. There are numerous fronts: investment and infrastructure, military power, diplomacy, soft power, trade, geopolitics. Every country has its own interest in Africa. In 2016, Israel began its scramble for the continent. Benjamin Netanyahu became the first Israeli prime minister to visit Africa in 50 years. What did he want? Votes in favor of Israel and against Palestine in the United Nations resolutions. Africa and Israel share similar histories, he said. Israel went on to sponsor solar, water and agricultural technologies. In the same year, 2016, Senegal co-sponsored a UN resolution. It condemned the construction of illegal Jewish settlements in the West Bank. What did Israel do? It cancelled the Mashav drip irrigation project. And this is just one example. Here's another one. The European Union has pledged more than $54 billion in sustainable investment for Africa. What does the EU want? Access to the African market of 1.3 billion people. Brussels has negotiated free trade agreements with at least 40 African countries. But does this ensure a balanced two-way trade? It doesn't. And no country has a bigger interest in Africa than China. China is funding 1 in 5 infrastructure projects in Africa. It is building every third one. Africa has an infrastructure deficit and China has a signed checkbook. Starting 2005, China has invested at least $2 trillion in Africa. It built 6,200 kilometers of railways, including the continent's longest railway line connecting Ethiopia and Djibouti. Beijing has also built the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. What does China get in return? A lot. Geopolitical influence to start with. Beijing is selling its culture, its currency. In Guinea-Bissau, exit signs are written in Mandarin. China has established at least 50 Confucius Institutes across 33 countries. Several African countries use Chinese currency. China also gets a strategic overseas base. In 2017, China built its first overseas base at the Horn of Africa, Djibouti to be specific. Djibouti connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean via the Suez Canal. The base has the capacity to accommodate 10,000 troops. China also gets a market to dump its goods. China is Africa's largest trading partner. Chinese trade has increased 40-fold in the last 2 decades. At least 10,000 Chinese firms operate in Africa. This is according to a McKinsey study. Africa has resources and China has access. Did you know that 1/3 of China's investments in Africa are in the mining sector? And finally, it gets to debt trap Africa. But here's the thing, China is not the only country investing in this continent. It's not even the biggest. The United States is Africa's largest investor. It accounts for $54 billion of FDI stock. There are 600 American companies operating in South Africa alone. And this, even after the US president called Africa this. For the longest time, Africa was nothing but a war zone for Washington. It has over 7,000 troops deployed in the continent. They are spread across some 13 African countries, including Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Libya, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, South Sudan, Somalia, and Tunisia. For the US, Africa was a continent for counter-terrorism operations. What happened then? Why is the US suddenly interested in Africa? The answer is this. For the US, Africa is now a new front to take on China, and Washington is now fighting it out for power and influence. An article on the US State Department website reads, and I quote, "Africa is the continent of the future. Thus, we need to make the most of its potential. By 2050, its population will more than double to 2.2 billion people, with over 60% under the age of 25. Where is Africa's interest in all of this? Also, what about India? What role does India play in this continent? New Delhi's ties with Africa date back to the time of Mahatma Gandhi. India was part of the Bandung Project of 1955. New Delhi supported Africa's anti-colonial struggles. It supported the liberalization movements in Ghana, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau. India also raised the issue of racism in South Africa. It will be unfair to say, though, that India's newfound interest in Africa has nothing to do with China. In 2018, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi toured key African states just ahead of Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit. In 2018, India decided to open 18 new embassies in Africa. India has defense partnerships with Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, Botswana, Uganda, Mozambique, and Namibia. New Delhi is currently training African military. Indian company Airtel is a dominant telecom firm in Africa. New Delhi is offering 50,000 scholarships to African students. Despite everything, India is far behind China in the race for Africa. China's Belt and Road Initiative has sealed its hold on Africa. If in the 1900s Africa was colonized with force, in 2020 it is being trapped by loans. China accounts for 14% of sub-Saharan debt. In Kenya, the volume of Chinese loans is 6 times that of France, which is the country's second largest creditor. And Sri Lanka can tell you what happens when Chinese loans are not repaid. China is looking to capture Africa. It has a strong diaspora, it is spending big money, it is selling its movies, culture and currency. China extracts raw materials, it manufactures products with them and sells them back to this continent. Does this remind you of something? What did the British do in India? In the 19th century, the rivalry between Britain and France fueled Africa's colonization. In the 21st century, the trade war between the United States and China is hastening the same. Just like the 19th century, there are numerous countries in the scramble for Africa, and just like the 19th century, there is nothing in it for Africa.
Well, we're hoping that you get to know a lot more about Africa. It's the second largest continent. It has 54 countries. Do you know there are 3,000 ethnic groups in Africa? Do you know there are 2,000 languages? Yet when we speak about Africa, we hear about English-speaking Africa. We hear about French-speaking Africa. As a matter of fact, 23 countries in Africa speak French. We hear about Portuguese-speaking Africa, Angola, Mozambique. We never hear about the 2,000 languages or the 3,000 tribes that have this rich tapestry of culture. Ethiopia, the second largest population in Africa, is now at war because of outside forces. Nigeria, the largest population in Africa, by the way, Nigeria is about 70% Muslim, is always in turmoil because of oil. It seems that whenever you have oil, foreign countries intervene. So I'm glad you're hearing more about Africa. And now you can interpret what's going on in the world. You know that Africa did not receive COVID-19 vaccinations. Only 6% of that continent has been vaccinated. Yet the proclamation that Africans would die of COVID-19, that hasn't happened. Something else is working. It's probably African DNA. But let's move on to something more lively, something more cultural. We in Guyana, we can trace our roots back to Ghana. And just this week, of course, we had a Ghanaian delegation visiting Guyana. As you know, Ghana has oil. And in previous shows, we've showed you the beauty of Ghana. Let's now look at Ghanaian weddings. And I hope that Guyanese who want to have their identity intact, who want to re-engage with Africa, and especially with Ghana, will look at these weddings and follow suit.
To do me like yeah. Same taste, pigeon lime and more. Yeah. She dey make her crazy with her body shape, yeah. Yeah. Give me good soup on a Sunday, yeah. Follow for you on the first day. Me bow your dimmy nice one, yeah. Oh, you change mind, get home for a while. Oh, you change mind, get home for a while. All them other boys just be good school, yeah. Won't make you know, say I do, wow. Won't make you know, say I do, wow. Never let you go, say I do, wow. I put all the energy you give me in the song. All the good vibe you give me in the song. I put all the love loving that you give me to everything. My pretty little thing, see, I never. Put all the energy you give me in the song. All the good vibe you give me in the song. I put all the loving that you give me to everything. My pretty little thing, see, I never.
I give you anything you want, make I know. Oh my girl, you blow my mind, yeah. Can you go like a boy, loving a bono? No need you so many my face, I know. Oh my girl, I know the lie. Everything, baby girl, you be everything. Say your vibe, you be everything. So for your love, baby, I just sing. Yeah. You get back, you are so.
I put all the energy you give me in the song. All the good vibe you give me in the song. I put all the loving that you give me to everything. My pretty little thing, see, I never. Put all the energy you give me in the song. All the good vibe you give me in the song. I put all the loving that you give me to everything. My pretty little thing, see, I never.
I'm in tears. With them I come account the cheers. I want to love in tears. Tell me what to do, I want to impress.
You might come my own and make you never left farm. Yeah, I've been searching for true love, but I never got time. Oh my baby, hold up. Send me here where you know they show up. You the wait, say we go to blow up. Oh yeah, nobody wants somebody like you. Watch me somebody, I see it too. I give you my love, you make a turn fool. If you don't love me, baby, make a day cool. See my love, you know be low. If I never take it, play. See my love, you know be bitter, oh, it be sweeter than a lelewa. See my love, you know be low. If I never take it, play. See my love, you know be bitter, oh, it be sweeter than a lelewa.
I did for you all the time. My love for you know the high. I wish we never had a fight, cause I see tears in my eyes. All I think in life be just you. I give you my heart, you make a tenfold. As we started, babe, we were cool. If you know they like me, make a day cool. So tell me, where did I wrong you? I even got my mind on you. I can even bet money on you. Why you know the sea say your money like you? Obisu upon put that say. What's a bien and waka so no jai? Namiti dano so I am and say. What's your before front in any way?
Be low if I never take it, play. See my love, you know be bitter, oh, it be sweeter than a lelewa. See my love, you know be low if I never take it, play. See my love, you know be bitter, oh, it be sweeter than a lelewa.
I see an eminent donor say, but just so messy for problem.
She was cleaning. Hey, shake it. Well, are you when I'm at the lake? Bononi, I do a blanket. You know you go be mad at day. You go be mad at day. If you see my baby, and I'm there, need a feeling I get. Now get love.
Dana Samoy. My body, na my frau. Dance uzuma ya zeza. Dance ni emintunga. Inti mabwa meu. Baby care what I do. Baby don't be late. I will have her shower. See body they shake me,
if you see my baby, and I'm there, need a feeling I get love.
Suspect. Makoma now you ram me boss suspect.
Be hitting my matene boxes. Then the county, my combo 35 doctors. Oh, yeah, me, the Cardi B, the offset. Sure, they know what my with the feeling of the Zozi. Before who's a blue, that is one team. Second, my bravo, I can see I can go on. Any chum, wow, in the Kobe. But it says I want you. What I'm feeling in my head, I'm one of my something. I'm a second.
You go to buffet. No, my get so come on, love me. Body on check. I thought I don't mind the pepe, them. No, you know, my do. Cause he go there. I don't put the red, but I want my shake. I don't wanna hear shit. I don't wanna hear shit. You hear me? We are going to do it. I don't like that. I see me another man. I don't wanna hear shit. I don't wanna hear shit. You hear me? We are going to do it. I don't wanna see you. Nobody, 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 nobody. Don't wanna see with nobody, 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 nobody.
Baby, this your body, no be yeah. I tell you, say you fine, you know they get. Me, I know be Donny. I see you with the soji. Anyway, me, I know go get. Not only you, I get one time sweat. So don't waste time, baby, my rose. Ooh, yeah, cause it be you, I want. It be you, I they want to. I go prove my love. I go risk it all, oh.
I don't wanna hear shit. I don't wanna hear shit. You hear me?
The way I want you rotate.
I don't let them see with another man.
I don't wanna hear shit.
I don't wanna hear shit. You hear me?
The way I want you rotate.
I don't wanna see you with nobody, 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 nobody. Don't wanna see with nobody, 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 nobody.
DJ Neptune, hit me. Sounds of Neptune.
If Brother Jonathan were here, he would say, just make me more black. Chairman, after looking at that video, why you want to whiten your skin? Where you think your rhythm come from?
Yep.
Where you think your sartorial splendor come from? You know, women love to dress up nice. You know, I've been to Ghana 5 times, and every time I go there, I see my face. Yeah, we're from Ghana. We have Ghanaian DNA. We have African DNA. We're African, just as Guyanese are Indian and Portuguese and Chinese. Now, Crystal, what you thought about that film? Give us another poem. Give us some stuff.
I mean, looking at that video, I was here sitting and thinking about the feminine energy, the royalty, the splash of colors, the rich culture. I mean, it reminded me of a poem that I wrote, and I'd like to share with you.
Great.
Black Woman, the epitome of grace, the oracle of wisdom. Black woman, how beautiful thou art. Your hips are like the carvings of fine gold. Your lips are as charcoal. Black woman, how beautiful thou art. Your hair is like Everest. Baby, it is you I want to conquest. Be my guest, for it is you I want to undress. Black woman, how beautiful thou art. At the thought of you, all my dreams come true. If you let me, I'll show you what love could do. Empress, never less. Black woman, you are the one to impress. See impressed, I am never stressed. With you, I am ever blessed. Baby, you are my dearest. Articulate, already aced. When I'm with you, it's like we're out of space. African queen, supreme machine. With you, I have to come clean. Only you can make my heart glee. Black woman, how beautiful thou art. Your intelligence is unchallenged. I mean, you cannot be challenged. Goddess of the air, Hatshepsut, your pyramid is near. Oh, my dear, you are so beautiful, and that is clear. Queen, you are black, and that means we can't go back. Back to the crap. the world calls a snack. You're up, and that means you don't need makeup, neither to pad up. 'Cause queen, you are more than enough. Melanin enriched. Against Oranduke, there's no need for a pitch. 'Cause black woman, you make us so rich. I tate, meditate, baby, hold me else I levitate. Okay, let it resonate. If I continue, we'll all be late. Black woman, you are queen of our estate. So whether you are from Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Brazil, Guyana, black woman, you are. Whether you speak English, French, Arabic, Spanish, or Chinese, black woman, I came to tell you, you are a queen.
You are a queen.
Yes.
The black men better stand up. The women are standing up. What are you doing? That video was
So
amazing,
beautiful.
and the poem was absolutely incredible and appropriate. You know, we are very
you.
spiritual people. We've been Christianized, we become Muslims, some have become Hindus. But we need to go back to our essence, our African essence, our African spirituality. And here to remind you of that spirituality is a dance for a song by Beyonce, Spirit. Enjoy.
Yeah, and the wind is talking. Yeah, for the very first time. Well, the melody that pulls you towards it, painting pictures of paradise. Saying, rise up to the light in the sky. Watch the light lift your heart up, burn your flame through the night. Whoa, spirit, what's the heavens open? Yeah, spirit, can you hear it calling? Your destiny is coming close. Stand up and fight. So go into that far-off land and be one with the great I am. I am who becomes a man. Whoa, spirit, what's the heavens open? Yeah, spirit, can you hear it calling? Yeah, your destiny is coming close. Stand up and fight. So go into a far-off land and be one with the great I am.
Well, Guyana, I'm glad you tuned in tonight for Reparations Now. I hope you understand what Africa is and was and can be. I'd like also to introduce you to our princess in her magnificent dress. Kente cloth has so many meanings.
Yeah.
It's who we are, it's us. And I didn't tell Crystal that we were going to feature Ghanaian weddings, but she came dressed to the tilt. So let's show us some more.
It's a spirit that is within all of us.
Yeah. The beauty, the symmetry, the colors, the meanings. And if you turn around, you could see that you can do all sorts of things with Kente cloth. You can even make your pillows with it. You can make a head wrap. You can go to a wedding. You can go to school. You know, Agda has a school, Kalako, where the children wear a piece of Kente cloth on their outfit. So you prefer to look like me in this British colonial suit, or this with this royal majesty?
Yes.
So Guyana, let's be who we are. Let's embrace our different cultures. We're Guyanese, yes, but that's a geographical space. But our DNA says we're African, we're Indian, we're Chinese, we're Portuguese, and yes, we're Amerindians. 9 different tribes. We're all part of being one people, one nation, one destiny. But we need to treat each other with respect. We need to appreciate each other's history and culture.
Yes.
And African culture is rich, extremely rich. The first person on earth was an African, Lucy. Her skeleton was found 3.5 million years ago. Yes, 3.5 million years ago. So embrace yourself, read about yourself, know thyself. And as Marcus Garvey said, you shouldn't wear the color black as a badge of shame, but to be proud of whom you are. We are African,
Yes.
we're Guyanese. We're African Guyanese. Be ourselves. Next month, we will come to you again to the December portion of Reparations Now. And we'll speak to you about Kwanzaa, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And we will also show you a lot more about Africa. But live the spirit of Kwanzaa and its 7 principles: unity, creativity, faith, cooperative economics. So Guyana, we leave you tonight looking at the magnificence of African ingenuity, of Kente cloth, and of African womanhood. The poems tonight were powerful. 3 different poems eliciting 3 different feelings. 400 years, which takes us back to what happened to us. Then beautiful black woman. So good night, Guyana. We look forward to seeing you next month
Yes.
on Reparations Now. And we leave you with a song so that we can come back to the reality of what's happening to us. How many more? Good night, Guyana.
Reparations Now.
Reparations Now.
Sing whoa. Hear my plea, oh dear. A sound from my land. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh, no. So many sons lost in the slaughter. Blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No. Warmongers selling death in my land. Getting rich off the souls of we children. Can you tell me when will it end? How many more?
won't you hear my plea? Send a happy hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, Jah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution?
Why must we carry this load?
Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots and too much connections. Too many